Good day and welcome to this special edition of Spotlight called GM's Corner, a regular series of short conversations with LMOA's General Manager Steve Hurwitz about what's on his mind and what's on his agenda. Mr. General Manager, nice to be with you once again. Well, this past Saturday at the LMOA annual meeting, the membership decisively rejected the board proposal for a $180 dues increase phased in over 3 years, and a second board proposal for another $50 a year dedicated to food and beverage with a rebate coupon in the same amount. If you used it, it'd be a wash. Question comes now, wither LMOA's finances and what's next?
Well, the results were decisive, as you called it, no question about it. And I think most members would hope that the board and the staff is taking it seriously and maybe even has thought about it before, so that in looking at these options, because we really have started the budget process for 2020 at the staff level, that is. We've started planning and looking at numbers and working it. We went ahead and looked at, well, what if one or two of the propositions fail or pass, and what kind of options there were, so that we could develop a budget that would be responsive in terms of the board's consideration with the help of the finance committee and so forth. And we even had an opportunity, because the run-up to the election generated an awful lot of questions and suggestions concerning financial management that were very interesting, and there were a lot of them. So we were able to, more than just consider, but think carefully about every input that came in, and we got a lot. And so there was a lot of information, more than normally at this stage in the budget process. And then, of course, we had the results of last Saturday. So at the board level, at the staff level, we'll take our guidance from the board and develop options to provide to the board that meet the needs of the community. That is what the staff is for. And consideration by the board with huge help by the finance committee. The finance committee gets involved in a very hands-on basis.
Yeah, very much.
In fact, because of that, we're really blessed with excellent committees all around. So with the finance committee, those who have previously suggested matters or pointed out things they thought needed concern, people should feel free to email me, and I'd be glad to forward it to the Finance Committee or to communicate directly with the Finance Committee. They are an estimable group and very, very experienced. And I know they would appreciate, more inputs, different inputs, the same inputs. So people should feel free to go online, look up the email contact for the chairman, and send those to, send anything they'd like to the chairman of the Finance Committee, which does get involved, or straight to me. And we're very grateful for the comments. It was kind of interesting. Some of the comments were kind of indicated a need to do a detailed back and forth, and there wasn't time really to explain, what would have been a 1,000-word composition about why we do this or why we do that. Although much of that information is available in already existing material, like the financial statements that are on the webpage. People asked a lot of those questions, so we couldn't really be 100% responsive in great detail. But the budget process, on the other hand, is a little different, and there is an opportunity to examine every assumption and so forth. And again, through the committee, people should feel free to come to the Finance Committee also in the same vein. So I'm optimistic with all the great talent available that we'll get through this and effectively plan to meet the community's needs and wants.
Yeah, just backing up a half step on the origins of this. Basically, this was not going to be just $180 phased in for operations or daily thing. A lot of this came out of the reserve study and showed the need to bolster basically reserves, particularly for roads, but also for such as we did over a number of years where we did not do this, provide for the eventual future need of building, refurbishing, and replacement if necessary. That's how we got into the situation that we got ourselves into.
It's true, and the board really thinking ahead. Even before we had the reserve study, they did an evaluation, and the reserve study proved their assumptions to be true. So what the board wanted to do with those propositions was get us out of what we had to do in 2014, the run-up to 2015, with the MR&R for the needs, the long-term needs of the community, not to be an emergency every time. And of course, that's prudent and responsible of the board to do that. That still is a factor.
Yep.
So we do have to look at the long-term reserve needs in addition to day-to-day operations and come up with a way that is acceptable by the membership, that puts us on firmer footing for the long-term future. And again, the staff is responsible for looking at that. The reserve study itself is interactive. So if we have a project that's approved, for example, the board approved stream restoration number 12, and it cost X dollars on an estimate basis. But when we go out to contract, we'll get actual numbers, and we can plug that number into the existing reserve study and then see what that means for the future, in particular the Lake Health Fund. So we're in a position to really have some empirical information about the future.
Okay.
And you know, I think it's our job to get that information out to everybody, and I look forward to being part of that.
Okay. You have some advice for people of perhaps observing suspicious activity. What's on your mind about this, and what brings this up, if any?
Well, this gets interesting. We've had things, because of the beaches being open and the beach weather that we've had, there have been reports of people doing things at the beaches that are improper, maybe against our rules, and maybe even to the point of disturbing other people beyond mere aggravation. And so what I am personally requesting anybody to do when they see something that they believe is either a violation of the law or of our rules and regulations, which are intended for the safety and enjoyment of the membership to use the amenities. So that's very important, even if it might be short of violating the Code of Virginia. So the best thing that people can do is to report it immediately. If they think it's a violation of the law, it's 911. We're fully integrated with the county sheriff's department. They'll dispatch almost always one of our officers, or depending on the seriousness of it, they'll come out. We've had some very notable things happen in the past 9 months or so. And the sheriff's department, the fire department, they're fully part of what goes on here. It's not as if we're on our own, and we appreciate that relationship. So we get that level, as well as our own very excellent police department involved in something that's happening right then. Sometimes we get reports, unfortunately, 2 or 3 days later. And that's really hard to do. You know, it's sometimes the suggestions are to do more of this or more of that, and that's often not possible. Typically, during the day, we have 2 officers on duty. Well, that's 2. It's not 20. And we do patrol the beaches frequently, and but they're not going to be there when something untoward happens on a beach. So we do encourage people to call. There's no such thing as a false alarm. Coming out and checking is fine. Just the other evening, I was out on the lake trying to be safe in my new boat, and there were people swimming where they weren't supposed to be swimming. I got on the phone right away, and when the people who were swimming where they weren't supposed to swim went back onto the beach, they were met a minute or 2 after that with an officer who took care of the situation. That's much more helpful than, you know, hoping that the police can be everywhere at one time.
All right. Okay. There seem to be, in spite of many entreaties, seem to be still some backup log jams at Main Gate and Turkey Sag, and why do you think that is?
We've made progress with the mandating, if you will, that all residents get barcodes, but not enough progress. So why did we do that? The reason we did that was number one, the convenience factor of avoiding huge lines of people waiting to get in on busy days, or even in the evenings during the commute hour. Those lines sometimes back up into turn lanes or into the main travel lanes on the public roads, such as on Lake Monticello Road. And I hear that in times we've almost spilled out into Route 53. Well, that would be horrible to think about. That really isn't, we just
It's
want to
very
avoid
sure.
that.
That's not that many cars before you can
Yes.
bump out to 53.
So the request was, and the board decided that for $10, everyone should get a barcode because residents don't have to get in the assisted lane. The assisted lane at Turkey Sag and the main gate is where the traffic backs up. Yeah. And it turns out that there's times when the majority of people in the line waiting to get in with an assisted entry are residents without barcodes. There's some other factors that enter into that about borrowed cars and rental cars, and we do the best we can with that. But the big factor is barcodes for people. So this is a personal request that if you care about your neighbor's safety and they care about yours, a barcode is the way to go for $10. It really would help, and there is a safety factor.
Yeah.
We did have a meeting called by a member of the County Board of Supervisors with VDOT officials about safety around the lake. And there are a number of things we're looking at, specifically concerning the Monish Gate. But the big thing is unnecessary traffic backed up at the gate and onto public roads really does contribute to, of course, the lack, it reduces the convenience of trying to get home.
Yep.
And also there's this huge safety factor.
All righty. Well, as the summer weather heats up, well, so does recreational activity around here. We've got a couple of things coming up: tweens social and a summer camp. What are those?
Well, I'd recommend people look at Email Blast. There's information about there's a tween social and a summer camp. Both are part of programs being run this summer here by the Fluvanna County Parks and Recreation Department. This is something we should all take note of and be proud of. The county's been very forthcoming about wanting to do it, and now we've been able to put it into work. So the Tween Social is for tweens, younger tweens, to get together. There's all kinds of board games and a ping pong table, a good one, and so they can enjoy each other's company. Play games, whatever kind they like. There's table games. Sometimes they gather around a table and they're all playing their digital games, and that's wonderful too. It's a supervised environment. There's light refreshments for free.
Where's that going to be?
And that's going to be in Ashlawn in July, the middle of July. And so I encourage people to look. They can also go on the Parks and Recreation webpage and check that out. Okay. And then secondly, also in the middle of July, is a summer camp. It'll be the second of two. The county runs summer camps all summer, normally at Carriesbrook. And this year, two of them, instead of being at Carriesbrook, are here. They're available to all county residents, and we're just very glad to have county residents participate in it too. The first one was fully booked, and there's still a few openings for the one in 2 weeks right here at the lake, and I think it's a great thing.
Are those one-day events?
No, it's a week long.
Week long, okay.
And there is a fee for that. But it's something people have asked us about, and it's just, I think, it's eye-opening that we're, with the county's considerable help and cooperation. More than that, they're running it.
Yeah. It's a marvelous agreement, and it's a wonderful kind of one of those openings, basically between the lake and the county that a lot of people have worked toward and looked toward for a lot of years. I think that's a great step for everybody all the way around.
And there are also many other youth activities that people already know about, but there are an awful lot, all the way from Nerf war to fishing. To, of course, we have just all kinds of activities for youth. There's game nights, table game nights. And so there is a parent advisory council. And so all kinds of opportunities to grow programs for the resident youth. Very important part of the population. Absolutely,
increasingly so. And of course, we can't let the occasion go by without a reference to this week and Independence Day, and awful lot going on. A lot of volunteers have worked very hard in putting together the program here at the lake, and a lot of fun for families. An awful lot of it, from sand castles to the swim across the lake. Oh boy, so safety and all that sort of thing, and patriotic sail by and all that sort of thing, capped, of course, by fireworks. Going to be a good show?
Great show, all kinds of things going on. It's, we are a hometown, and this is classic hometown participation with the extra benefit that we have the lake. When it comes to the swim across the lake, I was very interested in the meetings leading up to it. There's a great deal of concern that the number of swimmers that come out of the lake equals the number that went into the lake.
It's preferable.
So there are a lot of volunteers involved in that, as well as running all the events, just all the way across the board. If anybody wants to see something that is thrilling, come on out to the golf course and watch the little golf tournament for the youngsters. It is really something. And then on and on.
Okay.
And we do appreciate all the volunteers that are helping make this possible.
All right. Well, we hope those thunderstorms roll off in some other different direction. But anyway, we wish you and your wife and your new home, Mickey, and enjoyable holiday, enjoyable 4th, and all the best going forward. So thank you for being with us.
My pleasure.
You've been watching GM's Corner with LMOA General Manager Steve Hurwitz. We hope that you will join us again for future spotlights and also take in the full range of broadcast group programming here on good old Channel 977 or up on YouTube. So till next time, for the LMOA Broadcast Group, I'm Ron Krause. Thanks very much for watching, and good day.